What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday, January 23rd, 2023. Today is episode 166. Just a reminder to everybody before we get started, especially if you are new here, that we are streaming to 4 glorious locations. That's ElijahFire on YouTube, ElijahFire on Twitch, ElijahFire on Facebook, and ElijahFire on Rumble. So you got 4 great options. You got variety. Variety is the spice of life. If you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble and you are not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell notification if you're watching on YouTube so you never miss a moment that we go live, which is Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. So that's a whole lot of ElijahFire content that you do not want to miss out on. And of course, like this video, comment in the live chat, comment in the comment section. Today is a numbered episode. It's episode 166, which means that by tomorrow morning, Mariah, I almost combined morning and Mariah. I should have committed to it. By tomorrow morning, Mariah will have uploaded this episode 166, to our podcast platforms, which are Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So those big 3, very easy to find now. Praise the Lord. So if you just type in ElijahFire podcast or ElijahFire, you'll see it pop up. Can't miss it. You'll see our branding right away. You're like, there it is. I know it. I see it. So there you go. If audio only is your preferred method to consume content like this, there you go. And you get 5 days worth of it. So I also wanted to give a disclaimer to everybody. I said yesterday, or not yesterday, Friday, last show, about today's episode. We're going to be talking about some stuff that, especially if you're watching with you watch with little ones, you might not want to, because we're going to be talking pretty freely about some pretty heavy stuff. So just wanted to give you guys that heads up. We're going to be showing some pictures and some videos, which have been edited. Don't worry. But I just wanted to give you guys a disclaimer about that. So, all right. You guys know one of my guests, Cindy McGill, who's the founder of Freedom Lounge, but she is joined by her friend who also is, she's her PA, low-key PA. She helps her with a lot of different stuff. She attends these porn conventions with Cindy. She's gone to several. So let's give it up for my guests today, Cindy McGill and Abby McKee. Hello, welcome both.
Hi.
All right. So Cindy, obviously people very familiar with you here, but Abby, you're a new face around here, around these parts. So why don't you take a minute to just introduce yourself to the people?
All right. Hi guys. I'm Abby McKee. I am a friend, a neighbor, and personal troublemaker for Cindy McGill. My family and I have been here in Texas for a few years. We came along to help Cindy out with what she's got going on around here, and this is just somewhere the Lord led us. So yeah, that's what we do.
Awesome. And where did you live before Texas?
My husband's a retired Marine, so we've been a little bit of everywhere.
Okay. All right.
In West Virginia prior to moving to Texas, but the Lord led me to Cindy's ministry, and she took a chance on me, and we've been stuck together ever since.
Awesome. So how long have you been working with Cindy and going to these conventions?
2019, 2018, 2019, okay. Something like that.
I think it was, about 5 years.
Yeah. So I went to the convention with her, the one we're going to talk about today. I went to the convention with her my first year. And then right after, the Lord began giving me dreams about moving to a city that looked like it had mirrored buildings. And so I called my dear dream interpreter friend and I said, all right, help me out here. And she said, well, that sounds like where we live. So
spot on. Just kidding, Cindy. Just kidding. So I got to ask, because Cindy's been doing this for a while, but going into a porn convention, I would imagine is a pretty heavy feeling. I've done ministry. I've never gone into a porn convention and done ministry, but I have done it in red light districts. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty heavy. So was it something that you were just under the anointing and you were able to just function, or did it take some does it take some time to build, kind of be able to stand up under it and function in the prophetic, or however you're operating? How was that like for you? I'm really curious.
Yeah. So really the Lord had prepared me for this my whole life. I was never in the industry. I never did any of those things, but I was in and out of things. I have a very speckled past. I was a wild child. I went around. I did many things. I was in and out of different scenes growing up. I was a rave kid when I was younger. So I feel like every negative thing he took and he's using it for positive now. He has set me completely apart from my past, and he really just has used it to prepare me. I always had like this favor to get into places and get into VIP areas and stuff when I was in the world. And since I turned my life over to him 15 years ago, 20 years ago now, he has still allowed me to have that, and I have access to places. It's just been kind of incredible. And so I realized that he really did train me for a long time. I was involved in a strip club ministry when I met Cindy.
Okay.
And so it was, again, not something I ever did, but it was something that became kind of, normal to me. Let's just go and love on people in pretty dark places. Yeah. So I feel like he trained me, but
yeah. Well, and the thing I love about Cindy's ministry and what you guys do is, I know for myself, I remember I was listening to this guy talking about how he would go into strip clubs and he would witness to people. He had like a ministry, and I was like, I don't know that but this is like years ago. I was like, I don't know that that's wise, but I think a lot of the church find themselves in that mentality, where there's this total separation, where we be in the world, not of it. And so we think that there's this total separation. Okay, anything that's evil, we can't even go into those places and preach the gospel. We can't even do that. We need to completely separate ourselves. And over time, I've really realized, and it's because of ministries like Cindy's and what you guys are doing, that I know a lot of people have kind of shifted their focus and being like, man, like, how are these people going to hear about Jesus? How are they going to encounter him if we don't go into these places? And is God not big enough to protect you from those things? It's important to be smart and wise about it. And prayer is essential, but we have to go into these places. And so I know my perspective has shifted even more in that direction after having Cindy on however many times she's been on, and getting to know her and just following her. So let's just jump right into it, you guys. So in the beginning of January, you guys went to the convention, which is called
AVN.
Okay. So let's just go ahead and talk about it. What was it like? It was like 4 days, 3 days, something like that?
4 days.
4 days. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's 4 days, pretty much nonstop. It was in a different venue this year. So for me, this was year 13. And that was after the 2-year COVID break that they didn't have it, and they closed it down for health reasons. I just have to say that. But anyway, they punched it back up again this year, and it was in a different location. It was in a different place than we had been before. So there were a lot of new people. The thing that I noticed right away was, where it talks about in Isaiah 60, where darkness will cover the earth and deep darkness covers people. Well, deep darkness had definitely taken its place in this arena, and also over people. Some were almost zombie-ish. I had a hard time connecting or even being able to communicate with them. There was a blankness in them, and I hadn't. Usually we stand out. We are definitely light in darkness, right? So they know we're not in the industry, or most
right. Because they're like, you're not here for the porn.
Yeah,
it's a little weird. Yeah.
But it was much more. It was more difficult to navigate through. I had to kind of really get my mind. I mean, it was tearing me up, like on the inside, because I noticed a lot of young kids or young people there. Okay, so I'm not going to say children, but they were 11-ish, 12-ish, kind of thing. Yes.
Wow.
And, it's the thing that I noticed again is that I'm just going to be real and raw with people because they don't know. Obviously, the church is not real familiar because we're not in those arenas and we don't know. So I feel like, Abby and I are field spies. We go in, and our whole team actually are field spies. We go in, we find out what's going on and come back and tell you this is what is really happening. Okay, apart from church life and that kind of thing. And they're trying to normalize pedophilia. They're trying to normalize changing little boys to little girls. There's a whole mixture of identityless, I guess is the way to put it. People who just don't know who they are or what they're doing. And so we have a fight on our hands.
Yeah.
And if we don't make ourselves available, if we don't bring the truth into the dark, into the lies, okay? If we don't, because the truth sets people free, So if we don't bring it in, if we're not lights in dark places, then the darkness just gets darker. It just continues to creep. And that's what I experienced this year. It was more heart-wrenching. In fact, Abby took a lot of did a lot of the encounters. And there were times I just had to step out. And I hadn't done that really before in the past. I just felt like I, was overwhelmed a little bit. But I've been watching this. I've had my finger on this pulse for 13 years. Yeah. So I'm like, let's get a look at it and see what's happening. Then how do we become an answer? How do we become an answer? How do we educate people to get involved, And I've done a number of different little videos myself, just on personal stuff, and just said, show up. If you just show up, Jesus shows up with you, and then there is a marked difference. And so we'll, get more into that in the interview, but we were talking amongst ourselves as a team and saying, well, what is it? Where's God putting his, where is his hand right now? Is it on dreams? Is it on words of knowledge, or is it on touch? And if we could get a hold of them and hold their hand, we felt the power of God and they felt it. Yeah. And sometimes we didn't have to say a word. And we did have some dream interpretations that were very specific. And we knew that God had ordained our path, right, to hear the dream and then give them an answer of the dream interpretation. But I think we ended up getting a hold of or touching people or getting their hands. Our hands would heat up. There was power that was flowing. I know Abby could speak into, one girl that almost fell out.
Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about it. I got to hear this.
Yeah, so I think you guys have a picture of this encounter, actually. There was a young lady who I encountered, and she had, a pretty simple dream. It wasn't anything super special. It wasn't, I was like, okay, Lord, I'll do this one. But I did this dream for her. Yeah, that's the one. And so at the end, she said, wow, that was really amazing. I would like to learn more about this kind of stuff. And I said, well, let me just impart some energy to you then, because I happen to carry a really great gifting for that kind of thing. So let me just impart that to you. And I said, can I have your hands? And she said, absolutely. And so I took her hands in mine, and I looked at her and I said, I'm just going to stand here in silence until it gets weird.
Yeah.
She said, okay. And I just stood there. The Lord in the last year has been speaking to me greatly on the shifting of the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he wants us to do the exact opposite of what's going on around us. And he will ask us to be still when everything is wild, mm-hmm. And sometimes he'll want us to get wild when it's quiet. But there's a really important pull to learning the uncomfortable silence. And so I was teaching this girl, let's just, it's, I think the world would call it, let's just center ourselves. Right. Uh-huh. And so I said, just give me your hands. I'm going to impart this to you. Mm-hmm. And as I did, I said, I want you to tell me when you feel things in your body. And so she said, oh, my leg's twitching. I'm like, okay, all right. And then she said, but my eyes. And then I like peeked up, and I said, what are your eyes doing? And she said, something's happening with them. I don't know what's going on. And so then I asked my friend Jennifer, who's also in the photo, can you put your finger on her forehead? And the minute that she touched her, the girl began to fall out in the spirit right there in the middle of everything. And so I just stayed plugged in as long as I could until I knew I had to pull off, We can't let them fall out, right there in the middle of all that, because that would kind of target us. But
sure.
When she opened her eyes, she said the most amazing thing to me. I said, well, what do you see? And she said, everything is so much more brilliant now, but man, it's darker in here.
Well, fancy that. Yeah,
said,
there you go.
And I told her, I was like, you are supposed to be in places of light, so pay attention to the darkness.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
Well, and it's interesting too, because obviously it's not the same situation, but I was in missions for several years, and I have lots of friends who are in missions, and they go into places where you can't outright preach the gospel. Otherwise you could get thrown in prison or worse. And there's this Western mindset we have where we get locked in. We limit God is really what I'm kind of getting at, is we limit God and what he's capable of. And we think the only way God can work is if I say this, then this, then this, and then we do this at the end, and then bada bing, bada boom. Okay, now they're saved. Or, okay, now I feel better about this encounter with this person and their encounter with God, or me making connection with them. And then when I was in China, there would be people who would give their life to the Lord, but the real church is underground there. I can't just like walk around and be like, hey, anybody know where an underground church is? And so I had people that would be like, well, what did you do? I would tell them testimonies about, oh, this person gave their life to the Lord, and this person, they go, well, what'd you do to plug them in? And I immediately was like, that is a very Western thing that we do. And not that getting someone plugged into a church is bad. It's not, but it's not that simple. And I have to trust that he who began the good work in these people is going to continue into the day of Christ Jesus. The same with this girl. How is that any different? So
our salvation is a process.
Right.
I mean, we're having encounters throughout life. What I tell people often about what we do, they'll say, well, do you ever get them saved? And, where do you send them after? And I say, listen, there have been a lot of praying grandmothers out there. Right. And we just come and we drop water on the seed that they planted. Right. And then we hope and pray for the Lord to bring the person in that's going to cultivate that. Yeah. And there may be, you may be step 2 or 3 on 10 steps, but the Lord is faithful. It's not about us. We aren't really doing anything but being in agreement with him and being conduits to the earth.
Yeah. 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 And that's been really the biggest thing, is that we don't always honor the process. Yeah. We want to get them saved. We think, because we've been, I've been born again since the 70s. So, yeah. I mean, we were taught, you got to get them saved. Yeah. I mean, because it's on you if they don't get saved, right? And then, and so you have to, we always forced it. We always said, well, you have to say Jesus, and you have to pray the prayer, sinner's prayer, which isn't in the Bible, by the way. Right. And then, you have to get them discipled right there. And we have misjudged God's way of doing things. God is a process-oriented God. He is a farmer. Everything about him is about growing, and it is about timing, and it is about hitting the mark at the right moment. And we have tried to be Holy Spirit Junior a lot of times to people, and try and correct them before they ever even make a decision. Then we have to try and build some sort of a trust bridge, having a 5-minute conversation with someone in King James language with people that don't speak Christianese or any of that. And then we want them to trust us, and then we want them to receive Jesus, which, if we say him as his name, and I wrote a book about this, Words at Work, like if we say it to sing, because we proved it. We went out in the desert of Black Rock Desert and at Burning Man and proved all this, and at pagan festivals and at gay pride parades, and name it. We've been there. LGBTQ. I mean, we've been all the different places, not just the Porn Convention. And so we have so missed the mark on how Jesus relates to people and how he wants us to be him to them.
Yeah.
And as a result, we've pushed them farther. And people would disagree with me, but you haven't been doing what I've been doing,
Right.
you know, and you haven't seen what I've seen. You haven't been out there. And so, you know, they don't know who he is. They have a completely different perspective of him. And if they got hurt in church or something, or by a Christian, and now I'm even hearing really big name ministers say they aren't mad at church, they're just are Christians. They're mad at the way Jesus has been represented.
Yeah.
Well, Francis Schaeffer said that back in the 70s. He said, you know, we have so misrepresented who he really is to the world. And no one had to talk me into getting saved. Nobody had their finger on my forehead or pushing me over or any of that stuff. You know, I had an encounter with the Holy Spirit, with the Spirit of Jesus, you know, and I asked him to reveal himself to me, and he did. And I received that. I wanted him. And my whole life was changed. It was a transformation from that moment. I didn't want the things that I had been doing. I didn't want to be wild and crazy. I didn't want my life out of order. I didn't, you know, I stopped smoking weed. It's just, you know, the whole bit. I didn't want it. And I became a different person with a whole different identity. And I felt like, just like that girl said, when she was touched on the forehead and said, I feel like everything's brighter. Well, that's what happened when Jesus encountered me. And I felt like my whole world changed. And that was in 73. So then we went on to pastor churches. But, you know, we've learned. And again, we're living in a new era. So what I challenge now the church to do, we are the church, number one. The church is not a building. And we carry the presence of light, who is Jesus. Jesus said, I am the light. We carry him into these places, and he does the rest. Okay? Yeah.
Well, and these encounters that these people have, even if you never get an opportunity to translate the way maybe you would like to, but they had an encounter, God is going to continue to work in them. And especially if they're like that girl who's like, whoa, it's so dark in here. You know, everything's so much brighter. And, but it's so dark in here. Like she's not going to forget that, you know?
No, she had scales falling off her eyes.
Right.
The work the Lord was doing when she had her eyes closed, she said, my eyes are weird. They're moving. It feels funny. And I said, oh, okay. Well, we'll just see where this goes.
Yeah.
I didn't have to say a word to her.
Yeah.
Right. I just held her hands and allowed the Lord to use me as a conduit. That was it.
Well, I think we have to get over being afraid to go places that God already told us to go into.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, you know, if we don't do this, I'm going to speak to everybody as a mother, as a grandmother, you know, and I'm going to tell you that we're losing our kids. If we don't get involved, that means the school boards, that means, you know, you may not go to the porn convention, but you can, if you have children, find out how to become part of a school board to make decisions on what they do and don't get educated on. We have to be available to go whenever he says go, and to be able to love people in their brokenness. You know, I always think about when Jesus, when the woman who was caught in the act of adultery was actually thrown down at his feet. You know what he did? He crouched down with her. He was on her level. He wasn't standing with the accusers. He crouched down with her, right in her mess. And that's how he was able to write in the sand. And you know, I always think he calls out stuff they did.
Yeah.
It doesn't say what he wrote, but obviously it was enough to make them drop their stones.
Clearly, yeah.
But I feel like that we're there, and it's like we have got to be involved. We don't have a choice anymore. We don't have that opportunity just to sit back and go, well, someone else will do it. Well, they won't do it. And this thing is epidemic. And if you don't believe me, get a hold of, if your kids are going to public school, get a hold of their phone or get a hold of their friend's phone and see what they're Snapchatting each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that'll tell you right there.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God I've got grandkids and things that actually tell me what goes on. And Abby's got a daughter in high school that tells her what's going on. So, we're just like watching it full blown in an arena like a porn convention.
Yeah.
And also they don't think it's wrong.
Right.
They don't think it's wrong. And so what they're doing is they're everything is by feeling or what makes them stimulated somehow. And so they have removed the element of intimacy or real love, solid real love, any foundation that, that gives you a commitment to a partner with real love, which was what marriage was created for by God, And so it's removed all of that, and now it's just an experience.
Mm-hmm.
And when it becomes an experience, then it just gets darker and weirder and more morphed and more strange, and it's an identityless community as well. That's what I think. I mean, people are doing things. They're body altering. So they've got all kinds of things that they do to themselves. The bondage thing is something that comes up. And, I mean, we don't get a thrill and a chill off of telling all this stuff, but we're going to let you know, at least we're willing to allow you to know that this is a thing. Yeah. This is going on, and it's happening with young people, and they're embracing this whole concept of weird interaction with each other, sexually.
Yeah.
What did you send me the other day? She sent me a thing on Messenger, and it was
all kinds of things.
Yeah, but it was a
clarify, please. Yeah.
On what?
Bondage, that bondage that they're doing. You sent me. It was a boy and a girl, and they didn't have.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, she knows what.
Got it. Okay. I watched tons of things for research. No, this was actually a couple they were connecting in the bondage. Like there's a bondage scene, the BDSM scene.
Yeah.
And so they connected in their pain, and they did physical things with each other, to cause pain. And somehow they felt it brought them closer together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just filling voids. I mean, that's really what the whole thing was about. They were very broken.
Yeah.
People next door to us are like that. If I had one bit of advice for the church, it would simply be like, be there, be awake, be home, with your kids, be involved in your communities.
Yeah.
The Lord, when I go out, the name the Lord gave me is JL. So that's my street name. That's my street cred. And so I asked him, well, why that name? And he said she was a housewife that used what she had at her hand, and she killed an evil general and took down, she won an entire people with just what she had at her hand.
Yeah.
Bake casseroles, I don't know, make meals for people, but get involved, open your door, invite people in, be a normal being, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just takes vulnerability, and it's interesting because a lot of these broken people sometimes are more vulnerable with each other than people in the church, and that's not okay. Like we should be the ones being vulnerable. And so it's like, I just think that's really, even just the BDSM thing is really, I would imagine, especially given the state of the world and where people are at, I would imagine even that is on the rise. Because I remember a friend of mine or a coworker, she was telling me about a roommate who did that, and it blew my mind because I think it blew my mind because of how open she was, and I'd never had anybody just like tell me about that, like, oh yeah. And then like, but at the same time, it was just like, wow, like people are really hurting.
Yeah.
And they're looking for solutions.
You know, I mean, this is how but for the grace of God, right?
Yeah.
We were all in similar situations, you know,
Right.
all through our lives. All of us need to find Jesus. But here's the deal. We noticed that a lot of people who have continued on in the industry, they remember us. Okay. So
Yeah. Wow.
we actually have favor with them. And they remember us from a few years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. Even after like a 2-year break.
Yeah. Thousands of people around them for the week. Tens of thousands.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. Like, you know, it was almost like God saying, I'm going to cause them to remember you, you know, and that you don't come in with a judgmental finger in their face. You come in here to bring life. And we come in as dream interpreters, and our whole thing is we're giving back. You know, we're just coming to give back. We just want to be able to, and they just love that. A lot of them are very, they want to do good things. Most of the people that I ran into over the years have either, I said, if you had all the money in the world and you didn't have to do this, or you know, this wasn't your life, what would you do with your life? And what is your 5-year goal? And that kind of thing. And most of them said, I would do humanitarian efforts. In other words, their desire is to make hurting people feel better, whether it's in the medical field or whether it's just taking care of people or going on missions trips. I mean, it was kind of weird. Like, I thought they feel their own pain, and because of that, they want to make other people feel better. And so they have these deep-seated heart passions, I think, on the inside of them, but this is just a life they've settled for. But it's what they're made for, you know? And so through a dream interpretation or things like that, we can begin to speak destiny and truth. And I tell people, you know, I just don't read dreams. Sometimes I just read people. So, and they're like, oh, well, what do you see? I mean, they want to know. And now the trust bridge is down. They want to hear what we have to say. And we're like, you know, I just see that you have a lot of light on the inside of you, and that this is not what you're going to be doing. In fact, I said that to a couple of people this year. I said, you know, I just see you making a huge change. It won't be this. And in your life. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so done with this. Like, I'm getting out. This is it. This is my last convention, and I'm not going to be doing this anymore. And one of them said, I've been doing this for 15 years or something, and I am definitely moving on. And so I was able to speak freely with them about what I saw in their lives, you know, and they were all over it. They wanted to know more. And you're going to have a spiritual awakening. There's going to be this, you know, side of you that maybe you haven't really explored. But I think I said the spirit of truth. I always call him the spirit of truth. And they love that, you know. They're like, oh yeah, I want the spirit of truth, you know. Is
calling God by his attributes.
Is going to open up truth for you. You're going to see things that you didn't see before. You're going to have opportunities you didn't have before. And you're going to have new company of people around you. And I'm just declaring a thing, and it will come to pass, you know, and what God has for them. And it's so cool, because this will go anywhere you go. Okay. So just not at the porn convention, but you can speak a destiny word over somebody, and God will back it up. He will let them feel and experience what you're saying.
Yeah. It's resonating with their spirit, man, you know?
Sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, and Cindy, I also noticed in the videos, and we'll show some here in a little bit, but, you know, because we did that live dream interpretation thing here on the show, and I was watching the faces and the countenance of people when they get an accurate interpretation. It was the same reaction. Even though you were doing it with a completely different approach, you were coming in the same spirit, you know, under the banner of God, but it was just done with a different approach. I noticed the exact same reaction to an accurate interpretation, where you could see their countenance like get lighter, and they were just like, wow, yeah, you know, and you could just see it really resonated with them. And
Well,
I was so amused watching that. I was just like, God is so cool.
I mean, how often have we just not known what to do?
Right.
I mean, how
I mean, all the
often
time. Yeah.
we just don't even know where we're going or what we're supposed to do, and we
Yeah.
feel lost. And I mean, even being born again, even with Jesus living in there, you're like, I mean, and we're in a season of transition. Okay, so now it's even for a lot of us, that have been walking with the Lord. That's why I say don't attach your identity to your assignment, because your assignment's going to change.
Yeah, that's really
what you're
good.
going to be doing. But even with us, we're finding new connections, new appointments, new places that he's directing people that come around us, that are going to be working with us, that have other gifts and so there's all this huge transition going on. So people are wanting to have truth, and God said He's going to speak to us and tell us. What is it, Job 36? It says, God speaks one way then another, but man doesn't perceive it. In a dream, in a vision in the night, when they lay on their beds, He opens their minds, right? And basically, Cindy's paraphrase, seals their instruction to direct them and keep them from the pit, is what it says.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just like, He's going to give you, He wants to talk to you more than you want to listen. That's what I feel. I think God just wants to talk to you more than you want to listen. And I know that's true.
I was going to say, that's pretty accurate for me as well, So, Abby, did you find when you were in the convention, was it pretty, like, I mean, were you like full mission mode? Like, I'm going for it. Boom, 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 because I mean, it just seemed like even in the videos that I saw with you, you're just very, I mean, you were there, like, and both of you, but like you were just 100% locked in, 100% there. And you could tell like you were just,
Yeah. So it becomes pretty addictive. Like you start to resonate and feel, that that you're hearing the Lord, and every encounter you have just becomes so powerful, and it blows people away. I mean, I had some amazing encounters. There were some, most we didn't catch on film, and I love the personal component of it. I just have to be honest. To me, it's not really about. I had an encounter with a lady that we know 100% is a witch. I mean, she's been there for years, and someone had written in that been on our team previously and said she's ready this year. And I saw it. I mean, I went and encountered her, and I said, there's something new for you. You're supposed to change from places of darkness into light. And her eyes were so childlike. And I mean, she'd just been eaten up by things. I just had incredible encounter after incredible encounter. And most of it was, hey, we're dream interpreters. Do you have anything? And a lot of people said, no, I don't dream that much. I smoke weed and I don't dream. That's what a lot of people were telling us. I drink too much, so I don't dream. They're very open with you. And I would say, okay, well, tell me about your tattoo, and they would start talking to me about their tattoo. But the Lord will give you things, it's just incredible to watch what He does.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of, because I know this because I have some people that I know that either used to or currently smoke weed to drown out. They suffer from night terrors. They suffer from nightmares. And a lot of these people, and I would imagine, especially in the porn industry, if that's what you're saturated in, of course you're going to have nightmares. Yeah. Of course you're going to be tormented, so the weed is like a thing that just kind of pacifies that. Sweeps it under the rug. It's still there, but at least,
it's like putting black tape over the check engine light on your car.
Right.
You're doing that.
It's still on. Yeah.
It's still there. And eventually you're gonna hit rock bottom with that.
Right.
So because those are messages that are very important. And warning us of something. Even if it's not a message that's coming from Him, we can deduct things from it. We can look and say, okay, well, maybe this is an area of weakness. The enemy is really knocking on my door about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I know. I mean, it's so true. I mean, we're just watching God direct us. He knows everything. He knows what's going on. He knows where they've been. He knows what they're doing. He knows how. That's why I say there's no we don't have like an outline for this. People, I mean, we do some learn and launch training to give you the heart of it. and to help us to see God differently than how we possibly have been seeing him. But really, it's in the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, just like anything else. I mean, and oftentimes we've thought things like, well, they have a broken leg, so they must need healing. Well, they do need healing, but that may not be where God's putting the spotlight.
Right.
It could be on their heart. It could be on trauma. It could be on any number of things. So, we just don't, I call it taking cheap shots.
Yeah.
We just think, oh, well, I'm going to put my hand on their leg, which is weird to people that don't know what the heck you're just doing, right? And that's my broken leg, and you've got your hand on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be really sensitive how God wants to do it, and that we don't cross over and just start being all full of ourselves and whatever else.
Right. Yeah.
Because we've blown it. I've blown it. I'm telling you. I mean,
me too.
we've all blown it a number of times. Oh man, but we just keep going at it, and I'm doing it because I see hurting people. I see hurting, broken, heartfelt. They want out. They want a different life. Who wants to live in a life that cripples you forever? Who wants to live in a life that doesn't offer you anything back? Who wants to live in a life where you feel like you have to get medicated every single day just to exist? And, I've talked to a number of people in the industry, and they've come out of the industry, and early on, one of them had written a book, and she gave it to me, and she is now passed away because of her injuries, really, in the industry. But she wrote a book, and in that book said that in order for them to perform, they had to do what they call an OxyContin cocktail. So they'd have to give them painkillers in order to get through their thing. And they would sign a contract, and they would, the girls would say, well, I don't really want to do that. I'm not feeling well. I just don't want to do this. And they go, well, you are, because you're under contract. And they go, this or that. So these are the kinds of delicate situations that we're having to navigate around, because, we're trying to offer life to them, but there are certain things they've fallen into, traps. It would be like if an animal got its foot caught in a bear trap or a trap, it's going to stay there until somebody pulls the trap off of them. And so that's kind of what we're hoping to do, is to take the trap off and go, you don't have to live like this. This is not what you're made for. And then we ask God, we ask God, what are they made for? This is where the word of knowledge comes in. This is where God gives us his ability to see them like he sees them, instead of on the outside, what they're involved in.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to show a couple of pictures, and you guys can kind of talk about them. We already showed one, but the girl, Abby, that you were talking to with one of your ministry partners. But Michael, go ahead and put up the other. I think we've got like 3 more. So there's this one. Go ahead and put that one. So what's this?
So this is a strip club, and it's on the Strip, actually, in Vegas. And that was a few years ago, and they were pay your college tuition. In other words, it's a strip club. If you come and strip for this many times, and again, once again, it's a contract type deal. If you do that, if you work for us, then we will give you enough money to pay your way through college. Well, and because people don't want student debt and whatever else, it's a hook. It's some sort of a bait. That was the same sign that a pastor who I know pastored a church in Vegas was saying, but just recently, that they had that same sign was up, and it said, destroying marriages for 30 years.
Oof.
And she was weeping when she told the story, because her marriage was destroyed.
Oh man!
I mean, I lived in Vegas as pastoring a church for 30 years. So, this was this particular, there was a booth in there in the adult convention with this. Again, you have fans, you have people that come in who are curious, they want to know more, and the whole thing is designed for not just people that are into porn, but that people that are interested in working in the industry. So this is something that they want to try and get people in. One thing leads to another.
Yeah, recruiting.
Yeah, recruiting.
Yeah. Well, in that contract, I would imagine if they didn't have those contracts, whether it's stripping or actually in the adult film industry, I would imagine the turnaround would be pretty quick because, I think a lot of people, that's how they get involved in drugs too, because it's like you're doing that act over and over and over again. And then it's like
painful.
It'd be painful. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, they, like my friend I told you about, she actually got out and had a ministry. But she her body was so torn up. I mean, and this is graphic, and I don't mean to be that way, but I'm just telling you the truth.
Gotta talk about it.
Because she ended up passing away about 3 years ago. It was very sad, and she was a wonderful girl, and she had gotten caught up in it. And she told us a lot of information. I learned a lot from her because she was in it. And she said, this is what they deal with. This is what they're going through. This is why you can't be out loud talking about God and Jesus to these girls when they're working and when they're, they have a booth and their agent, their pimp, or their whatever has contracted with them to work and to get business for their company or whatever. Right. And you go in there and you start spouting off about God.
You're not there for the porn. You're not there for, you know what I mean? So it's like you're not meeting your favorite porn star, It's, yeah.
So when we're giving back, okay, so now we're giving back and we're giving it in by way of dream interpretation.
Right.
Well, there are a whole lot more. That's more palatable to anyone listening around. And I've even had some agents or pimps watch me, kind of suspiciously walk up. And then I go, oh, we do this every year. We just come in. We're dream interpreters. We have a badge and the whole thing. We're dream interpreters. And they're like, oh, okay. And they'll go.
Do you have a dream? I'll interpret for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll interpret their dream as well. But we have to be very careful in an arena like this because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And, but I guess my major concern is that the young people are just flocking to things like this because they don't know that it's destructive. They think that it's just a thrill and a chill, right? They think that it's like anything else. And you'll just see people wandering around and they're like curious, and then they get stimulated by something that they see, and now they want to know more. So then they want to stay longer or that kind of thing. So, we're having to recognize the field, Sure. I mean, when you look at it, and Jesus said, consider your field. Well, here's your field and here's what goes on in there. So,
yeah. But I think us as believers need to also have, even with a show like this, where, I mean, in contrast to what you actually saw and experienced, this is pretty tame. But for some people, this is like, oh, this is too much. Nope, can't. But like, we need to be brave enough to at least be able to have these types of conversations within the church. And if this is as far as some people go, is what we're talking about here, which is, in my opinion, pretty tame. I think that's fine, but we need to be brave enough to at least stare this stuff in the face. Because God's when you do that and you start praying into it and you start asking God for solutions, he's going to give them to you. And sometimes that means that you're going to have to be part of the solution, so.
Well, think of it like this, in the Bible it talks about, you have a lot of teachers, you just don't have a lot of fathers, right? So I'm trying to think where that is. I get all my addresses mixed up. You know how that goes. So anyway, and it's all, but I'm thinking about, here I am a mom, and and Abby is a mom as well, but she's also young enough to be a sister.
Yeah.
Now, things that they will tell a sister that they won't tell a mom.
Sure.
Okay. So we can both give mom hugs and we can both speak on a mom level because we're both mothers. But she's not a grandmother and I am a grandmother. And so one of the girls, I think we have a video of her. Her name was Jezebel. She called herself Jezebel.
Yeah.
So she had 2 dreams, and I was able to interpret the dream. And at the end of the dream, I said, I'm seeing something about your grandmother.
Yeah. Well, let's show them. Like, I don't want to spoil it. Okay. So we'll show the first one and we can talk about that. And then the second one is about the thing with her grandma. So okay. Michael, go ahead and play part 1 of the Jezebel video.
So she said you had a dream.
I have a recurring dream.
Okay, yeah, I like them.
One dream, I'm trapped I'm trapped in a hotel, but the hotel is a strip club, and all the strippers are dressed as flight attendants.
Ah, yeah.
And there's one man who's like in charge of everything, and then there's an old woman that owns the place, and she won't let me leave. And every single time I try to leave, there's a giant wave of water that will wash me away if I try to go.
That makes sense. Well, here's what it means. You have one thing that you're destined for and one thing that you've settled for. Okay? Now the thing you're destined for is to take on heights. You have the ability to see from high levels. All right, that's what the plane is. That's why flight attendants are attending the plane. Yeah, so you're able to see above all the clouds. You can see everything. You can see everything down below. And that's what you're made for. But you try to get out and you can't because everything keeps knocking you back down. So there's going to come a breakthrough time. There's going to come a time when you're going to see yourself get completely, there's a whole calmness that will open up for you. And that will be your way of escape. And you'll be able to come right into what you're destined for, what you're made for.
Thank you.
You're going to see your spiritual ability begin to really increase.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's been happening, yeah.
And it's happening again because we grow. It's like a plant. And so you're going to start to see this thing happen. But there's going to come, the wave is only something to keep you occupied, to keep you anchored, to keep you from being able. You got 2 choices. You can either let it knock you down or you can ride the wave.
I like that. Okay.
If you ride the wave, you can find your way of escape. You can find your way into the future. You can find your way into what you're purposed for and what you're made for.
Okay.
And it's going to be incredibly exciting for you.
I love that.
Right?
Yes.
Love it. Oh man, you could see on her face. So the second you were like, there's something you're made for, and then there's something you settled for. And you could see on her face, you're like, yes. So
well, she said there was an old woman, it was a strip club, and it was a bunch of flight attendants, and the old woman wouldn't let her go. And every time she found a loophole or a way to get out, a wave would come and knock her down. And so I was thinking, when I thought of the wave, I thought, well, it's coming to try and trouble her exit. But if she rides it, if she gets on top of it, then she can get out.
Yeah.
And she's that
perspective shift. Yeah.
Like she's not going to just let things knock her down. She's someone who will find a way to get what she needs or where she needs to go. So that's kind of where I went with that. And
love it.
And I was feeling her out a little bit because she'd had a dream, but the second dream, I think that's when I got the thing about her grandmother.
Yeah. So Michael, go and play part 2.
Okay, so my next dream is not a dream, it's a nightmare. And I'm on it's like a very old amusement park, like an antique amusement park.
Okay.
The skies are gray, it's dead leaves everywhere, dead grass, and there's people there, but I don't know any of these people. They're all dressed in black, and they tell me to get on this ride, and the ride is going around and around in circles. And so I don't want to get on the ride, but they make me. And so I get on the ride, and it starts going around. And I ask, I'm like, what's the point of this? Why did you want me to get on the ride? And as soon as I said that, another version of me, like a darker version of me that is part of, that looks like they're, like she's part of the people that are there in this, like, I don't know, this antique amusement park. She says, "But I'm you." It's like everything stops.
Mirrored.
Yeah, and I see her directly, like as we're going around in a circle, it's like everything slows down and I make direct eye contact with her. And she looks at me and she says, "But I'm you." And then I woke up and it was like this, it was really scary though. It was the way she slowed down and it was me, but it wasn't me.
Right. Well, it's whatever's trying to convince you of your identity.
Okay.
So you have an identity and it's deep rooted. It's who you are. It's really the real you. Okay, it's not the phony you, it's not the fake you, it's not any of that. And so this thing, this merry-go-round, is just keeping you going around in circles with your head spinning, and this thing looks at you and tries to convince you. This is where you're going to have an identity wake up. Anytime you hear that kind of a dream or you have that kind of thing and it's ancient and stuff like that, it's going to be one of those times when you wake up and you go, you know what? I know who I am. I know what I'm made to do. I know what my real identity is.
Okay.
I know.
Can I have your card, please?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come back around. I'm going to be here 4 days.
Okay.
And I'm going to come back around and I'm going to get in touch with you.
Okay, I would love that.
Because I just see you breaking out. I see this is something that you settle for, but it's not what you're made for. So there's going to be some kind of something. According to your 2 dreams, they're very similar.
Yeah, they are? Okay.
And you know what I heard? Sometimes I hear things or I see things about people. I heard your grandmother.
Yes.
On your mom's side.
Yeah, my nana.
And there was something that I don't know if she was praying. I'm not really sure what it was. I just heard your grandmother.
Okay.
And so there's something of a connection there.
I don't know. She died when I was 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But there was something, you know what?
I've always felt connected with her. I've always felt like her presence, like early in the morning when I wake up. Like I know when she's around because I'm not the kind of person that likes to wake up and open the curtains, but she was the kind of person that liked to do that. So I know when I wake up and it's like a different energy. I'll feel it in the room, and so I'll go and I'll open the curtains and I know that's her.
She had a love for light.
Yes, she did. Her nickname was Sunny. So,
see?
Yeah.
A love for light, and her name was Sunny. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate you saying that.
Isn't that so cool?
Thank you. Come back.
I will.
Okay.
I will. I'll come back and connect with you.
Okay.
Oh man. How cool is that?
Yeah, I know. But again, it's in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, and here we are, and it's all loud, and everybody's all over the place. You know, a lot of distractions, a lot of things that can come and try and distract you. But she was definitely having. God was speaking to her.
Oh, big time. You can see it.
And in fact, I don't think Josh caught that part where I think he turned his camera off at that point. But she said, "Boy, she really she's changed my life," or something like that. It was that impacting. Like, wow, she has really changed. Something has changed in my life. And I said, "Did you get that? Did you get that part?"
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take a ton to get a hold of people that are searching for their identity. And in that dream, she had one mirror image telling her one thing and another mirror image telling her another.
Yeah.
But in both dreams, she was trying to find a way of escape. She was on a merry-go-round. She was on an airplane that she couldn't get out of. And she was looking for a way to get out either way. And I thought it was interesting that she called herself Jezebel. But there was something about her grandmother came right up in my spirit. I knew it was her mom's mom because, you know, too. And
she's like, my Nana. It was like, oh, wow. Yeah, she hit it. Yeah.
And I said, yeah, she has a love for the light. And I think probably she was a Christian, or she had some, I believe she probably she prayed for her grandchildren, regardless of how old they were and when she passed, that kind of thing. But when you get up, if a person that gets up every morning and opens the curtains, and she never does that herself, she had a love for the light. Oh, well, her name was Sunny.
Yeah.
I mean,
man.
pretty great.
So cool. So cool. So
Yeah.
Abby, we have a video of you. You're recording a video for a guy, for his daughter, about sleep paralysis. I don't know if you want to set this up, because we kind of just jump right into you recording the video. You can set it up a little bit and then we can play that one.
Absolutely. So this guy and his wife were vendors there. They have a t-shirt company, basically, that, they come and they sell their wares.
Yeah.
And I had encountered both of them the day before. I told them I was a dream interpreter and asked if they had anything. And the guy goes, "Oh my gosh, my daughter is, and she suffers from sleep paralysis." And I don't even remember what I said to him, but I just rattled off whatever the Lord gave me. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to get her connected with you." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So then we followed each other on social media. But then the next day, it was the last day, and I came around to say goodbye. And I said, "Hey guys, I just want to say bye," whatever. And he goes, "Could you please record a video for my daughter explaining this to her, so when I tell her who you are, she can get with you?" And I fully intend to, sit and do dream interpretation classes with her one-on-one. He said, "We'll pay you." And I'm like, no, this one's on me. I'll get with her. So that's where we're at.
So cool. Okay, so play the sleep paralysis video, Michael.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, so on the video, again, don't tell me if my daughter, I told her about sleep paralysis.
Yes.
So I forgot the description.
Okay.
Like just a 30-second description of sleep.
Yeah. Age appropriate. Got it.
Oh no, she's 21.
Oh, okay. All right. So tell me a little bit more about her dream
So
again.
my daughter has sleep paralysis a lot.
Okay.
She can't move. She feels like whatever. She's trapped or something.
Yeah.
What do you think, without knowing her, sleep paralysis?
Without knowing her. Okay, so I'm going to speak to you through this camera, and I'm going to tell you, you are amazing. You are someone who sees very deeply. You're someone who sees things from a vantage point. And sometimes there is so much that you see that you just haven't been equipped for yet. And so you need to find someone who can help to guide that and to lead you toward a light. But the sleep paralysis comes because there is a darkness that does try to extinguish the light. Okay? But you are going to grow and you're going to move further into that, and it's going to become amazing for you because you see things deeply. So every morning before your feet hit the floor, I want you to make sure that what you do is you meditate and you ask a spirit of truth to come and be the light to your feet and a lamp to your path. Okay?
Awesome.
All right.
Thank
so
you.
I release you with love and light.
Can I say something really quick on
Yeah,
that?
do it.
Too, that I don't know who we're talking to, but sometimes I believe, hi daughter, sleep paralysis is your body protecting yourself.
Yes.
Because stuff is trying to
Yes.
come after you, and so if you were able to flail and all that stuff, it would be worse on your physical body.
Yes.
So it's a way to calm yourself. So we just want to break off any of that fear that comes with this, because it's actually your body protecting yourself. And we release that truth that she was talking about, and a peace over you in the night season.
Yes.
Thank
Bam.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah. So do you guys find, because I notice, you guys can talk pretty freely about like spirit of truth, alignment, like whatever. Do you find that people are pretty open to like spirituality, like as like a general thing, and that's kind of like an open door for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I did in that video is I just taught his daughter how to pray every morning.
Right. Yeah.
So we're just disguising it. That's really what
Yeah.
it is. It is the same God. It is the same thing, and we just use different words.
Yeah.
They're very.
Yeah, and anybody who gets squeamish about the you're saying spirit of truth, I'm like, that's like one of God's names.
I
Like,
am the
so
way.
yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we go that direction and we do that kind of thing. And again, we teach them things they didn't know. And so that's why when we talked earlier before we got on the show, we were saying that this year, we just wandered around, and most of the years we've wandered around. We've only had a booth in there one other time.
Yeah.
But we considered that, this isn't the only event that the sex industry has. They have a number of them.
Mhm.
And we thought maybe we should consider going to some of the other events and possibly getting a booth. And we would do something with oil, where and Abby actually put some oil together. She calls it truth serum. Oh yeah, it's funny. And we're like, well, there you go. It's a spirit of truth serum, right? But we'd have a chance to get a hold of them in a booth, and we could. It's our turf, so we can mark it off, and we would have freedom to do a lot more with a booth type of event, and then we can rub the oil on them, and the scent or the what was that you said about the sense of smell?
Yeah, the longest lasting connection to memory in our five senses is the olfactory sense of smell. Okay, so if I get the oil, I put it on my hands or I put it on them, and we have this encounter, I make little bottles of the oil also that I would wear one, or the team would wear one. And when we have an encounter like this, we would put that bottle on them and then instruct them, in the morning when you wake up, just maybe take a whiff of your oil that's in this necklace, your truth serum, and bring yourself back to this moment where you had this encounter. And before your feet even hit the ground, then you invite the spirit of truth in to guide your path, to be a lamp to your feet, and just go from there. And, some people might argue, oh, that sounds a little, ritualistic or whatever. When we first become believers, we have to find and even after, some people are just very, sequence oriented. We figure out, we read our word in the morning and we have coffee. And if we don't, our day's off. It's kind of the same concept.
Yeah, I get that. Definitely get that.
So that's where truth serum came. The Lord gave me that because I said, I always tell these people to invite the spirit of truth to come in. And I'm like, Lord, what am I going to call this oil? And he said, well, I'm truth. So what about truth serum? I'm like, okay. That's
Love it, God. Yeah. Genius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just an arm. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. That's great.
We have to get sneaky in the days, that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
We don't have the freedoms that we used to. And Jesus told us that. He said, look, in the last days, you're going to be hated by all men because of me. And so, we have to take that to heart. We have to realize that. And it's kind of weird. Like, I mean, I'm like, why did you tell us to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature and then tell us we're going to be hated?
Yeah. Seems counterintuitive. Yeah.
And so, but then he said, look, I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, you just be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, and then he'll do the rest. Yeah. And that's we're just setting the course. Yeah. We're giving them something to do. If you think about, well, that sounds new age. No, it's not. New age stole everything that God did.
Yeah, come on.
So we're not doing anything new age. We're doing Genesis. Yes. Yeah. We're doing the Bible. The oils were in the Bible. And so, we just have to say, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the original, to the organic, to the real. What did God set up? How did he set this world up? How did he put things in place? What was his idea? How did he want humans to function? And that kind of thing. And so when we do that, then we just take back everything that he was doing. And what the new age actually got a hold of it and went with it. They are connected, of course, their antennas to a different spirit. It just is. And we are connected to Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life, and the light, and the only way to God. And so we are finding ways to get Jesus in front of them. Similar to, talked about that before, Mark 2, where the guy's a paralytic and they go to get in the house, Peter's mother-in-law's house, and the way is blocked. There's so many people there. So these 4 guys have this guy on a stretcher and they can't get in. So they just go up the side steps of the house onto the roof and they start taking the roof apart. I mean, how desperate are we to get people in front of the only one who can do something about their broken life and their situation? And they found another way in. And that's what we're doing. We're finding another way in because the way that we used to go is blocked. Yeah. We can't use church words and King James and all that and go out in the world. They don't even know what you're talking. They don't know. I mean,
if you did, you might not get invited back. You might get stonewalled, and the approach that you guys are going at allows you to get in front of people who this may be the only time, it's like you're not in the same circles, and you know, this is an opportunity to get in front of people who, some of them are total basement dwellers. Some of them are total, you know, like some of them are just like heavily involved in the porn industry, and they're either there or here, you know, like, I don't know, a lot of different things. And so,
well, people don't trust. So
right.
you know, we have to build that bridge of trust. And, you know, and because I just think that God fills us up with his love. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's definitely supernatural. You know, it's all about 1 Corinthians 13. It says that, look, you can prophesy with angels, you know, in tongues of angels, but if you don't have love, you're like a sounding brass and cymbal. You know, you're not even going to be able to get a hold of them. So God really does put his love in our heart for these people. We don't have that kind of love normally, you know, and don't think we don't get shocked by some of the things we see and some of the ways, you know, because when you're going in there anywhere, okay, so let's just say anywhere, but especially here, you have to be focused on what God sees, and you don't see other things. Honestly, you just don't. It becomes like background noise. And so you're looking at the one person that God's guiding you to, and the one person that you need to have an encounter with, or you need to say something to, or you need to, you know, have a connection with. And that's really how we go in. And then the love is already evident. They're not afraid. It knocks down their walls. It keeps them open. You know, if we walk up and they're not open at all, we just move on to another one, because there's somebody in there that is open. And there's also people that are praying for people that are in there. Some of, you know, there's parents, grandparents, whatever. These kids have gotten trapped in this kind of thing with contracts. And so you've got people that are praying for those people. God told me that in the beginning. He said, I've got people in there that I need to send you, because you're going to be an answer to their prayer.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that also alleviates a lot of pressure off of you too. You know, you shouldn't have any on you anyways, in terms of like, this is all on me. Well, it's not like, and so I think, like, I remember you saying that to me before, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, that alleviates a lot of pressure, because it's not about us, right? It's not about Cindy and Abby and I'm the only, like, they have people that have been, a lot of these people have people that have been praying for them, you know, friends, family, all that stuff.
Right. We have another picture, I know, of a young man who across the place from AVN, the same building, was a room, and it was Gavian.
Yeah. So Michael, it's the next picture.
Yeah.
And don't bring that up.
So this was a young man that we do have video of. We're getting it edited, but I got a hold of his hand, and I said, you have a real strong connection with your family. And he broke down crying.
Wow.
He goes, family and I are so close. And I said, well, they're not here, and you are. And I said, and God, I was able to say God. And when I did, he just started sobbing.
Oh, man.
And we had a gal, the girl that you saw put her finger on that other girl's forehead. She said, look, I'm going to get on my, pretend like I'm on my phone, and I'm going to walk around this arena 7 times, this room, and I'm going to speak in tongues. So if you see me on my phone, I'm going to be walking around 7 times praying in tongues. And so we could feel the atmosphere begin to shift in that room. And so this is when that encounter took place. So she became our intercessor and shifting the atmosphere by praying in tongues. And we had open encounters with, you know, him. And so we'll have some of his video edited. We just got back, so we haven't been able to do it. You know?
I'm sure you got at least a decent amount of footage too, you know, 4 days. So, but I mean, you want to talk about a meaningful encounter. That's one that guy's not going to forget.
No.
Like, there's no way.
No, in fact, I went off a bit just to wander around a little bit and see what else was going on. I came back and he grabbed me and hugged me himself. And so he was very aware that I was, you know, I'm not in there for porn. So, and
you were safe. Yeah.
I was safe. And I don't know whether he had a mom thing or whatever it was, but
it's a big open door,
yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. So it's great favor with him, and just a real genuine, sweet impartation. I could feel it, so
Yeah. Come on. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about right there.
It is.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool too that like you do get those opportunities where you can say God, and you can be a little bit more direct.
Well, if you look at the picture, there wasn't really anybody around him.
Right. Yeah. That's a perfect opportunity.
And so we didn't have a crowded room, and it wasn't real noisy. And so we was able to have a better conversation or say what I needed to say to him,
Yeah. Well, let's, there's another one that you kind of did something similar. I mean, it wasn't like as like no crying, but you were actually able to you actually said God, to that. There's a lady named Shannon. She was at a booth. So let's play that one really quick.
I was telling her that before I got here, I was really anxious about coming, just product being in transit, not knowing where it was. And so 3 days before I got here, I was dreaming pretty vividly.
Yeah.
And I was like, they were kind of anxiety driven. So like in one of my dreams, it was like me and my friends. And I just remember waking up and feeling like I had been hugged or like surrounded, kind of like calming, almost, so to speak. So it was just really interesting. Like I wasn't dreaming that vividly before, and I was kind of asking the universe, like, cover me, make this a good trip, make this a whole, good experience. And then I woke up and it was like, oh, a hug. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So, and I was telling her I just bought a dream interpretation book.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know about my dreams.
Okay, well, there's certain ones that will help you and certain ones that may complicate it or make it more confusing. Okay. So simple is better. Okay. What you do is it's like putting a puzzle together.
Okay.
So all of the elements of the dream make a big picture.
Okay.
And then you find the focus of that dream and how it applies to you. And then I always ask, why did you have it now?
Right.
So timing is important when you have a dream.
Gotcha.
And usually the creator is beginning to talk.
Okay.
That's what happens, is you're getting awakened. In fact, give me your hand, because I do spiritual alignment, organic, right?
Okay.
Organic spiritual alignment, which will connect you with the creator in a way that you've not experienced yet, right?
Okay, yeah.
And things are going to become very clear, all right? And you're going to feel a whole new adjustment, like a reset, like a spiritual reset.
Yes.
Okay? Begin to take place.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And it'll make all the difference in the world to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think you'll see future things. I think that you'll begin to see things ahead for you.
Okay.
And what your path is and what your plan is, why you're here, and what your destiny looks like,
For this.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally asking the universe, what is my plan? What is my purpose?
This will come from the creator who actually created the universe.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So I would call him God.
Oh, that's what I would call it.
Okay. So let's just say that it's going to come from that direction, and it's going to be pure.
Yes.
It's going to be very easy to understand.
Okay.
It'll be very connected with you so that you're not fishing around trying to figure it.
Mm-hmm. Clear signs. I've asked for clear signs.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's one of your signs.
I think so too. Look at that.
Right?
Wonderful. Do you have a card?
Actually, where's my friend Abby? She's got a Instagram she carries for me. So
I think that was the one that just came and she was like, she took a picture, I think, maybe.
Okay, well, I'll have her come back.
Okay.
We can have her come back.
Absolutely.
So what's your name?
Shannon.
Shannon.
Yes.
Well, I'm Cindy. Nice to meet you too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Can I give you a hug?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
I just come in agreement with really great and wonderful things for your future.
See you.
And how.
That's too.
Yeah.
Literally what you just said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Agreement is a big thing.
Yes.
Agreement is huge.
It's huge. It's
because
very,
what you connect with, what you agree with, you strengthen.
Yeah.
So you want to strengthen all the positive things and good things for you.
Absolutely.
That only come from above.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Coming in for a hug, Shannon.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. It was meant to be for me to be here.
Oh. You guys need cards, apparently.
I have
Well,
one.
Yeah.
What happens is they end up losing them, or we
Oh,
lose
okay.
what we did at Burning Man, we might consider doing this again because so many did ask for, do you have a card or how can I connect with you? We created a self-inking stamp. So we did that at Burning Man because everybody throw everything down, they'd lose it, right? So if it's inked on their, it's just temporary, but that way they have our information, they have what, and also it can tell people what we do and who we are. We're dream interpreters, right? And so then they're like, oh my gosh, where are these people? So I considered maybe we should do a self-inking stamp for the next one that we do.
Yeah, for sure. Or you could even you could just have a couple of cards, but have a QR code that leads to an Instagram or something like that. And hey, just scan this.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh,
That's
okay.
what she did. Yeah. So she has an Instagram for that.
I'm also busting up over that lady's hat. Make America firm again.
That was supposed to. That's one of the. Should have edited that out. Yeah. We were laughing about it.
I mean, just just blended it. Yeah.
When in Rome, right?
Yeah, when in Rome. Yeah, I'm sure people give you things too, or I don't know.
Yes.
It's you're like, all right. Oh wow, this is not a MAGA hat.
I think she had that hat because it went with something else she was wearing, and so, anyway.
We carry the stuff and then we dump the stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
You stand out otherwise, and so.
Yeah, they want to give you things. We have cards. I actually have to go through my wallet half the time. I went to pick up a prescription for my mom the other day. I went to get my debit card out of my wallet and it fell out. And I was like, oh God, it was one of the girls I had encountered and I can't.
Oh no.
It was such a good encounter. And I'm like, oh, Lord, you got to tell me when I put stuff.
It's not what you think, person that's judging me right now. Yeah.
So
what you think. Yeah.
But we're in a different, just like, if you think of it like this is the best way to describe it. When we go to church, I feel like we're on Planet Christian. So we sing songs about God and Jesus, and we talk about him. We read the Bible. We have, messages about God, revelation. We have the gifts of the Spirit that are flowing in. It just depends on where you go. And so when you go into an arena like this is their planet. Okay. So all of these things are normal to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to really get past that part too. They're not going to think like me. They're not going to, it's going to be very normal to them because this is what the life they're in right now. They won't stay there, hopefully. And most of them don't. However, there was one year that we went in and it was, we were able to get a hold of all of these girls and all of them had incredible encounters. We were able to talk freely with them because of their dreams and because of some of the encounters they had and able to tell them about God and about Jesus. And it was one of the only years we had that kind of freedom. Then we found out later on that there were 5 girls in that one company that all committed suicide at the same time.
Jeez.
So, you don't know if you're going to be their last one.
Right.
You don't know if you're going to be the last time that, and so I look back on it now and I think God gave us that kind of freedom. We had that rolled out red carpet for us to give them the truth about who he is and that he died for them and loves them and he will save them and clean them up and give them brand new life. And whether they did or didn't, maybe just before, it was the end, they might have called on him, just like we said, So, every year's different. And every time we've, had encounters, they're all different. And that's why I said we don't have a recipe for this. We don't have an outline for this. It's in the moment. And you have to be real sensitive to what is God opening up for me right now? What is what does he want me to say? And if I jump the gun or I get in there and I try and go too deep, too quick, or, I just, it can backfire on us.
Yeah.
And then we get labeled and people talk the same way that anybody else, you know, then they're like, stay away from them. They're, you know, they're crazy or they're whatever, Christian or whatever.
You get stonewalled. Yeah.
Yeah. So then they poison others against us. So,
yeah,
you know, that's how it is.
Yeah. All
So
right.
I just want us to realize the time that we're living in right now. We're in a time where we can't afford to sit back.
Right.
It may be uncomfortable. It may be something that I'm not going in there. Well, don't go in there. But you got a whole high school full of kids that this is not foreign to. You've got a junior high this is not foreign to. You've got a world that's trying to, there's a spirit of deception. There's a spirit of perversion that's been poured out to awaken children early before they're even ready. There's drag queens that are going into libraries and into schools, and they're creating reading material for children that they shouldn't even know anything about. And I'm getting ready. Well, both Abby is too, getting ready, and some of our team. We're going to go to a drag show that says it's family friendly, and we're going to do some interviews and find out. You know, we want to first off go and see what's going on, get a hold of, find out what strategy do you need us to have for these kids, and then ask the parents, what are you thinking? You know, what makes you want to bring your children to a thing like this? And remember that because of the outpouring of the Holy Spirit that is getting ready to hit like we've never seen before, the devil is triggered. I've said this before on your show. The devil is triggered. He knows God is getting ready to come in a powerful way, and he's pulling out all the stops and all the junk, trying to get these children indoctrinated into something that they shouldn't have any business knowing. And then parents are saying it's okay to. Somebody just showed a slide at one of the conferences I was just at about people are determining in the hospital what gender children are based on what the child grabs for, a pink thing or a blue thing, even if they're born a boy or girl.
Wow.
I mean, I'm like, how can we sit back and not be involved?
Yeah.
Just explain to me. Someone explain to me how we're filled with the Holy Ghost and power, and the Holy Spirit knows all things. So you know all things. And how is it that we can just sit back and not be proactive at bringing truth into light into dark places, truth into lies, and let God show up and shift the atmosphere?
Yeah.
How are we okay with that? How are we okay not being available to God?
Yeah.
You know that I beat a drum about this, and I wrote that book. You know, I wrote 2 books. I had Tim bring them in. That's what I was texting. 2 books. Words at Work. Words at Work.
It's partially see-through. It's a really unique book. It's partially see-through. Yeah.
Words at Work. Yeah. A Language of Light for a World Living in Darkness, and What Your Dreams Are Telling You. What your dreams are telling you. Yeah. It's like, and these are just 2. I've got another one coming out. So it's like,
oh snap! When is it? Is it coming out this year, Cindy?
I'm hoping to get it out right away, like because I'm going to self-publish, and that helps me to get it out much quicker. But I'm like, we're going to educate people, and we're going to equip them, and that's what we're meant to do. The 5-fold, okay? That's why we're in the positions and given the anointing that we have, is to equip the saints to do the work. We're to equip the saints to do the work. We were never meant to be the field. We're the force to the field. And so the field is the world. And the world right now, the attack is on the children. And everyone has said it. I mean, I knew it from before. When Jesus was getting ready to come the first time, the Herod thing was a big deal. He was killing children, right? So we got a Herod spirit that's loose on the earth that's going after the kids.
Yeah.
And as a mother and a grandmother, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. I'm not. I'm not okay with it. I don't want my grandkids being influenced by a demonic spirit that tells them lies and gets them jacked up sexually or any other way. I'm not okay with that. And I'm not okay with not being able to communicate truth however I need to say it to whoever needs to hear it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to sit back. I'm not going to shut up. It's not going to be, that's not me.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
You know that, I know. But I just get passionate about it because I'm just watching it unfold. It's just like vomit on the earth. And I'm going, come on, dudes. Come on, guys. We can do this. Yeah. We can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. And it even said, I'm not going to sit here on a little video that I do and tell you to show up and I don't show up. I'm going to show up. And when I do, I carry the light of the world with me. It's on the inside of me. And he will shift and change the atmosphere. And you don't know. You can't say, well, this is a time of miracles. And then you never give God even a chance to do a miracle because you're not there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Don't apologize at all.
I know.
Like, well, and I think too, going back to the trans, like really highlighting kids and, trying to like really infiltrate that in. It's like, I always call it compassion gone mad. Whenever people like that are living in sin or in the world and they're trying to do something with compassion, there's no biblical understanding of or knowing God personally to inform you of how to go about that. So it's just like compassion gone mad. So it's like, well, we need to look out for the trans people. We don't want them to feel alienated. So then you're like, well, let's bring them to the front of everything, even though they make up 0.005% of the population. Let's put them out in the front. Let's put them out in the front. Well, what happens is you saturate the world with arts and entertainment, media, everything with this. Kids who are already confused, trying to figure things out, suddenly go, I think this might be the answer. This might be the answer. And I can't remember who I was talking to, but they were saying that in schools, like a lot of the trans kids are the cool kids in a lot of classes now. And so it's almost like the new punk rock thing, it's like almost like the new alternative thing, which is just like bizarre. Like that blows me away, but that's where we're at, and we have to do something about it.
I mean, let's just get real with it. And let's just say, okay, this is where we're at. Yeah. You remember how we talked about before, like the big red circle and arrow at Six Flags, you are here. Mm-hmm. Well, you are here. And but we've been given a job to do, and God wouldn't tell us to do it and then not give us any wisdom or power or anointing or special ability to do something about it. So, okay, we're going to go into all the world and we're going to see what goes on there. We're going to be present and we're going to watch him do what he does. And then we're like, we're along. We'll do whatever, wherever you need us to go, we'll go. If you tell us not to go, we're not going. So, and however you need us to go, we're going to go. Yeah. So I believe that if we can become willing in the church and, how many people, I mean, I can speak for myself. I've been trained. I have been through Bible school. I've been through evangelistic ministries. We've pastored 4 or 5 churches. And I'm like, I'm not sitting around, I'm not doing it. I mean, I'm not going to sit inside the church and just keep singing stuff and hopping up and down and whatever else and let the world go to hell. Let my grandkids go to hell and my great-grandkids at some point. I'm like, no, I'm not letting yours do it either. So, that's just how I feel. And I think that's just a God thing. It's like this God vengeance or something on the inside of me.
Oh, yeah. Righteous indignation. Yeah.
So I'm going, I know the Bible. I know Jesus. I know what he says. And I'm not going to sit around and you receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you. Mm-hmm. That's what Acts says. You receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. And then you're his witnesses everywhere you go. He explodes. So if you want to see miracles, get out of the church.
Yeah.
I mean, just go ahead because he'll do it. And he's gonna tear it up in a good way,
Yeah.
So
I would say the big takeaway from this episode really is just like it's a lot of what we've been saying. Like I've had a lot of people on that have said a lot of similar things. Like God is rhyming a lot right now in terms of like repeating things through different people. And it's just like, get up, be available, go do the stuff and be bold. And one thing I love, Cindy, that you pointed out towards the start of the show, and Abby, I'm sure you would agree with this, is you're mature enough, Cindy, to say, hey man, I had to step out for a little bit. I had to step out of the convention for a little bit. It was heavy, and you step out and then you go back in. And that's the important thing. And it's okay as we're venturing into these new things, or, the heat's been, turned up, the darkness, the heat of darkness has been turned up, and sometimes it's just like, whew, man, okay. Need to back up for a second, just kind of breathe for a second and then go back in. Abby, do you find yourself doing that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs to know when our own physical limits are, when we need to recenter and start talking to the Lord. Like, hey, I got to reconnect with you for a minute, whether it's go to the bathroom or, go get lunch or, whatever it is that you have to do. Sometimes you just have to step away.
Yeah.
And take a deep breath, and it's all right. You're not going to miss it. You're there, and He knows you're there. You're not going to miss it. I think we covered before that our words aren't even so important all the time. I mean, yes, words are very important. Our choice of words are very important, but that's not the only thing He works through.
Right. Yeah. So I thought that was really important. Because I think there can be a tendency. I know for myself, I can become, I'm an idealist. And so I'll just default to like, okay, it has to be 100% this. And then when it's not, there's this temptation to give into like, I failed. And then like, you don't want to do it again because you felt like you failed, or like, I know it's kind of extreme, but that's just, sometimes that's the way I am. And so I think the important thing is just motion. It's continuing to go forward, continuing to get up, continuing to move forward, and putting our faith in God and His ability to deliver when we make ourselves available. Yes. And that's, I think that would be like one of the big takeaways from this for people, is that.
Well, fathers need to step up.
Yeah.
Mothers need to step up. And I think if we just do it even from that perspective, we've had kids, we've raised them, and now fathers and mothers need to step up and go, okay, no, no, and be present at some of these events and find out and get a hold of some of these young people that are so, it's a fatherless generation. Yep. I think I shared the last time or the time before that George Barna did a study and said this is the first generation that is clearly post-Christ.
Yeah.
It is anti-Christ. It doesn't have any God-centeredness in it, which makes it great for a brand new awakening.
Yeah, people don't have it's sad that we've gotten to that place, but it's also, I look at that as an actually a big opportunity, a big open door to be like, okay, there's no baggage from like,
exactly.
I hate Jesus because my mom, blah, 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 or whatever.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's right.
Yeah.
And so they don't even know. They don't have to be untaught or anything. It's just, they just need to have an encounter.
Yeah.
And so that's where, as a mom, I can speak into the lives of people that didn't have one, or they were abandoned, or they were, left alone, or whatever, they just weren't parented. And so that's kind of where I come from. And Tim, my husband, is able to speak to young men and give them a father perspective, and begin to, he's creating with some other young guys on how they can be available to these guys that don't have a father. Mm-hmm. It's a fatherless generation. And so all of these things, it's like, I mean, I'm not getting any younger, but I figure I got some years left.
Yeah.
And so I don't know whether it's just because I'm older or I'm just stupid, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it, because I'm not going to sit around and just and be standing before Jesus one day. And he said, you could have done this or that, or, look at all these opportunities you had. And I missed it because I was stubborn, or I was stuck in my ways, or I was scared, or I'd considered my own comfort above the comfort of, whatever. We sang a song back in the 90s about break my heart for what breaks yours.
Yeah, heart of worship.
And how often do we do that? How often do we go, Jesus, will you break my heart for what breaks yours? Because when I would sing that, man, my heart would start. See, it's already happening. Like I would just start feeling like this is what his heart breaks for. And this is why we're doing what we do. And I'm not going to stop doing it. And I don't care who gets in my way. If you don't like what I do, get out of my way, because I'm going to keep doing it. And I'll take others with me, and we'll train and we'll take you with us. But you've got to have a willingness to let go of old stuff and get out of your comfort zone and just be willing to go. And again, this is not the only arena we go into. We're going to do South by Southwest. We do film festivals. We do different events. We just go where people are. College campuses are a big one. Just go on the college campus, do your own research, go and find out what they think and feel, and give them words and give them encouragement, and hold them and hug them and tell them that they're valuable and that they mean something, and they don't have to lose their life. They don't have to kill themselves because they don't feel like they're wanted.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah.
And also I misquoted the song break my heart for what breaks yours. That's actually Hosanna by Hillsong United. So just in case anybody blasts me in the comments,
I wasn't going to say anything, but
yeah, but I was judging. I wasn't going to say anything, but I was judging. Yeah. So, okay. Abby, I would love actually for you to pray. I really feel like, pray for the listeners and the viewers. Cause I know that there's a lot of people who are really, as a result of, it might not be them going into the porn conventions or Burning Man, but there are certain avenues that us as believers, each of us is called into those places to be bold and to be a light in a dark place. And so I would love for you to actually just pray for those people who are really like, oh man, okay, I feel a burning. I have no idea where it is, but I feel the burning of conviction in my heart right now.
Yeah. So Father, we just thank you for the ability to connect with you.
Yes.
And we thank you for the ability to be within our own communities, to hear your heartbeat and your plan for this world, for your children that are in this world. We thank you for direction. I just ask that you will take every listener, no matter when or where they hear this message, that you will begin to illuminate arenas and people that that they can touch. And I ask that you'll give them strategies to reach the world around them. Start within their homes, Father. Make the connection at home. Let's start seeding the next generations and watch your outpouring of love and connection begin to reach those all around us. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to connect them to you, and just use us. Make us a conduit. Yes. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Well, this was fantastic. And I'm so grateful for what you guys do. And you always have a place here whenever you want to share this stuff. Like, I'm so on board. I think we need to be having these types of conversations about pornography a lot more, but also humanizing these people again. And I think that you guys do such a good job of that. And I think that's something that God has really just been like, those Cindy and Abby, those are my people. Yes. So thank you guys for what you guys are doing. I prayed for you guys a lot, like when you guys were there. So
we did. We really did. Thank you for everyone who prayed for us and knew that we were there, and tried to make it available for people to know, here's what we're up against, kind of thing. And we felt a win, didn't we? We felt it shift completely over. We were like, I felt like I was swimming in soup, man. I was like, oh man. And then we put it out there and people started praying, and they just, we felt a difference, a marked difference. So
awesome.
Thank you so much. And thanks for the platform you've given us to share what we know. And
we're
not experts at this. We just do it because we just don't want. We're just not gonna not do it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, but
Yeah.
but thank you for making it available to us.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Absolutely. So plug your books one more time, Cindy. We do have a link to Words That Work, but if people click the link there, it'll take them to the actual website. They can get both books there. So we've got
What Your Dreams Are Telling You and Words That Work. Words That Work will help you in any setting that you cannot say God or Jesus. I've had teachers, I've had court justices, I've had people in governmental positions, and all kinds of, if you can't say God or Jesus, this will give you language to help you navigate and say what God wants you to say without tripping them up or without getting shut down by your organization or whatever school. I just had a substitute teacher say, I can't talk a Christian talk. I can't even bring up God or Jesus. I said, get Words at Work, because it will help you to communicate truth to them in language they can receive, and it won't shut you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. So good. So good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So Cindy, obviously you have an Instagram, which is linked in the description.
Yeah.
But Abby, do you have a place where people can follow you or anything like that?
Absolutely. I have my Instagram. I'll have Cindy post something and tag me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll do it. She'll have to do it and tag herself because I don't know how.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's true. That's all I'm
Oh yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, both of you guys. You're fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
God bless you.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody, that's our show. Have an amazing Monday. We'll see you tomorrow, which is Tuesday, with Krista Elisha. It's going to be a great show. So that's at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And obviously there's a donation link at the end. ElijahFire.com/donate keeps this all free 5 days a week. Makes it so that we can keep doing this. And then we're also taking a portion of that over and doing the water well efforts. And that is all because of you guys and your generous donations. So God bless you guys. And we'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time with Krista Elisha. Okay, bye.